week. Ladies, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
It's our pleasure.
So
Great to
lots
be
of
here.
lots of great books coming out this week. We're going to start with Jenna's, which is "You'll Be Mine," and it's book 3 in the Wellwyn Marriage Wages series.
Yes.
I love the setup for this one and the cover. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. This it it evolved quite a bit, although the main part of the story was always there. It's kind of a tribute to the legend of Odysseus, because the hero's name is Ulysses and his nickname is Yule, and Penelope is, of course, in the legend, is his wife, but in this case it was his neighbor who was a childhood friend, and then she left for 10 years, and now after 10 years has come back and is a young lady, and he meets her as he is part of this marriage wager where he's got to marry, and so he's looking for a wife, but he meets her again and he doesn't recognize her at the very beginning. When he sees her across the ballroom floor, it's like, oh my God, who is this? And he really thinks she's extremely beautiful and maybe this is the one. And then she comes out with this old nickname that she used to call him because she couldn't say Ulysses, so she called him Sissy. And so she's running across the floor going, Sissy, Sissy, is it you? And he's like, oh, no, this is who this is. And so he immediately thinks of her as the 7-year-old that he knew back then and does not think of her at all as the 17-year-old about to go into her first season. And so she's been in love with him ever since she left. And now her whole goal is she is going to make this happen. She's going to make him fall in love with her.
Oh, fun! A hero with agency. We love
Yeah.
those. We love those. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, what is his story beyond that? That what is keeping him from loving her, other than just that he sees her as a young person?
Well, I mean, that is the main reason why because he doesn't have anybody else in mind, and it's set up that he's looked at other
Married.
people and thought that, maybe this person would be, okay to be a wife, but it never really clicked. And so, but with her, it really does click, but he doesn't want to admit it. He just, because he's got that mindset of, no, she's a child still. I
Yeah.
can't be in love with a child. And she has to convince him. And she does that by every piece of mistletoe she can find. She ends up under it with him and ends up kissing
I love.
him, trying to make him realize, I'm not 7, I'm 17. I'm the perfect person for you. And so, that's the way that it really unfolds. And then once he comes around to it, um, we find out that he forgot or didn't even realize that she didn't know anything about the wager. And then when she finally found out
Oh,
about the wager,
that's an important part.
yes, and she doesn't know until one of his cousins mentions it, and then she realizes, or she thinks she realizes why he wasn't interested in her until, oh, he has this wager. He's decided I'm going to be it because he needs to marry.
Yeah.
And so
Ah,
in, that renews the conflict.
yeah. Then you have a perfectly legitimate reason for her to turn away from the thing that she's wanted all along, too.
Right.
Awesome. Oh,
Right.
that sounds great. That sounds like a great story. And how many more marriage wager books do we get?
3 more cousins.
Awesome. I love me a long series. Those where you get to get really attached to the characters and stay with them for a long time.
And I'm
And
trying to weave all of the cousins even to come back in so
mhm.
that, we don't lose some of the earlier ones.
Yeah. 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 I like it when you get just, even if it's just glimpses, even if it's just a mention that so and so had a baby or so and so got married, or like just something that keeps you connected to the people that came before. I think that's
Right.
so much fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Well,
always like that in the series too.
yeah, that sounds like a great read. And then the next book that we have coming out this week is Curiosity Killed the Duke, and it's book 8,
Book
which
8.
is a lot in. It's book 8 in the Dukes in Danger series. And these are the Dukes that have too much time on their hands and not enough purpose.
Yeah, I mean, this is very much a series following dukes who, they've inherited. They've done everything that could be expected of them in terms of inheriting and turning up and looking after their land, and they're very good landlords, they're very good masters. And as Evelyn says, they just get bored. They get a bit of I don't want to say a death wish, but they seek out danger, something to make them feel alive. So this is book 8. If you haven't read a single book in this series, that is okay. You can dive straight into this one. But if you have read earlier ones, you've probably met quite a few dukes who are spies or servants of the crown, or just keeping an eye on things and making sure that they spot opportunities to serve their country. And in Curiosity Killed the Duke, we have Samuel Delamore, who's the Duke of Champmire, and he is probably one of my favorite heroes I've ever written, because he is incredibly smart. And I say that as someone who was like, "I'll write a smart character," and then was like, "Oh no, I've got to be smart." But he very much plays the fool. He finds that people let their guards down, they let things slip if he's acting like a complete idiot. And so he is sent on a mission up to Edinburgh to find the traitor who's been spilling secrets to the French. And so he tells society, "Oh, I'm on the hunt for a wife. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm attending all these balls. That's why I'm wearing a kilt and acting ridiculous." And of course, he's a duke, so quite a few people are interested. The one person in Edinburgh who isn't interested at all in attracting his attention is Lucy Finch. She is in a sticky spot with some blackmailers. I think that's probably enough to whet your appetite. And she is very certain that the last thing she needs is a bumbling idiot walking into her path and making her life difficult. And unfortunately, they are found in a scandalous situation. Let's just say that. And all of a sudden, these two people who really shouldn't have anything to do with each other and actually are making each other's lives far more difficult than they need to be, are kind of stuck together in this potential marriage of convenience. Lucy's offered, this chance at respectability, chance to get away scandal, but she knows that she brings secrets into this potential match. And Samuel, of course, this whole time has been pretending he's a complete dullard, someone who doesn't know his left from his right. But of course still has his duty and is trying to balance pretending to get married to someone entirely unsuitable with hunting down someone who is putting the country at risk. So quite a lot of shenanigans.
That's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. Significant shenanigans occur, I think it's fair to say. And I just had a huge amount of fun with them. They're very kind people in themselves, and they have a lot of walls up against others. And I think they have a big assumption that what they are doing is the most important thing, and anyone else getting involved is just going to get in the way. And of course, as you could imagine, their curiosity, their intellect, very quickly causes sparks to fly.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun, and I love the idea of them just being kind people who are.
They're very kind people who have found themselves in situations where it's not very beneficial to be kind. And so they're both trying to kind of leave aside that side of their personality, trying to protect themselves, protect the people they love. And at the same time, their kindness can't really be hidden because that's who they are. And I think we all know those people who are, even if it's at their own detriment, they can't help but be kind. I think we've all met people like that. And so it was a huge amount of fun to write Samuel in particular, who is incredibly charming, incredibly suave, and is constantly looking out at the world thinking, really? You think I'm this dumb? Like, I know I'm playing a part here, but like, come on, give me a bit more credit.
Why are you believing it?
Yeah, why are you believing it? Why are you you're lapping all this up? And so for him to meet someone who is incredibly sharp and incredibly distrustful and immediately starts to disbelieve everything he says is actually incredibly fun. I had so much fun writing the dialogue between these two because they're just very sparky and very bold and very dramatic. And this is book 8 of 12, so a nice long series.
You saved me from asking the question that comes next.
We do, and every single one of these books is a standalone. You can absolutely dive into any one of these books. So, if you've been with me from the very beginning, fantastic. Thank you so much. If you are literally hearing about this series for the first time now, great, dive in. Having said that, there are clues in every single book, books 1 to 11, as to something very exciting that happens in book 12. And I'm not going to say any more than that. You don't need to read. You can dive into book 12 and enjoy that, and then go back to the beginning. But there are little hints that I've dropped very, very, very delicately all the way through, because all of these dukes in some way are serving their country, and soon they will realize that someone is a traitor. A true traitor.
Man.
Yeah. So this person has been mentioned at some point in books 1 to 11. I'm not going to say in which ones. They're not in every single book, but they are in a couple. So that when it's all revealed in book 12, it's not someone you've never heard of before. But yes, the eagle-eyed of you, I know, are already watching and looking and trying to find, trying to sniff out my traitor. But you can dive into this at any point in the series and enjoy it as is. Every single book ends in a happily ever after.
Awesome. And I count on the happily ever after. That's the reason we read.
100%. I mean, there's no point if there's not a happily ever after in my books.
Right.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to the next 4 as well. And then the other book that came out this week is Kate's book, and it's Sweep Me Up, Baron, and it's book 4 from A Very Fine Muddle. And I love listening to you talk about these because they sound like just so much over the top fun. Can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, so the whole premise of the series is that it's a family series, the first one that I've done. So it's 5 daughters, and there's an eldest son who will be book 6. And they've been raised by their extremely dotty aunt who has no judgment whatsoever. And she has told them a whole pack of lies about romance. And they believe that she had a number of very torrid romances on the continent, but unfortunately all these Lotharios have died in some way, so it's all very tragic. So they just come into London with some pretty screwy ideas about what they're looking for, and they always have their list of requirements, and they're always totally confident. They're always sure everything's going to work out really smoothly, and it never does. So this is Cordelia. And she's decided that her most important requirement is she wants her own Corinthian. He has to be a sportsman. He's got to have, big muscly arms, and she's very open about it. She's told everyone, he's going to be carrying me around all the time because he's so strong, blah, blah.
Literally sweep me up.
Huh?
Like literally sweep me up into your arms and cart me about.
Yeah, that's what she expects, and she thinks this is going to work out perfectly. But she ends up being really attracted to this Baron, who is an intellectual, who doesn't have a drop of sport in him. He, on the other hand, is convinced he wants to marry someone who would be his intellectual equal, which she is not. I mean, their schooling under the tutelage of their aunt was subpar, to be kind about it. So she knows like next to nothing. But they can't get over the attraction. So both of them separately decide that they're going to turn themselves into what the other person.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, with, varying results, let's say.
So tutors and gym helpers.
Hmm?
Tutors and gym helpers.
Yeah. I mean, Cordelia is relying on her aunt. The two of them have locked themselves into the Earl's library to try to educate themselves. Okay. And they can hardly get past page 1 of any book they pick up because they're just not inclined to that sort of thing. And then the Baron is being dragged out by his friend, who is a Corinthian, to do all sorts of sports, which he is not very good at all.
Fun.
It all comes to a head at a house party, and it's pretty funny.
No, it sounds like so much fun. And we get 2 more of those in that series. 1 more daughter, and then the final son.
There's Juliet, who is going to marry a poet because she herself is a poetess. Her poems are terrible. They've been in the book since book 1. They are only 4 lines. And so in each book, when they're traveling to London, they meet a famous person at an inn, and it's always related to whatever daughter is coming out. So she meets Wordsworth and feels very sorry for him because he just goes on, and he cannot manage to, reduce his ideas to 4 lines. So she's totally confident about that. That won't work out. And then The Eldest Son is the last book. And as Emily was talking about a big reveal, that's when the secret of the aunt, Miss Mayton, finally comes out. What was she really doing on the continent? Who was she really? What's going on?
I'm guessing it's none of what she's been saying was happening.
No, nothing. No.
Well, that sounds like so much fun. I love the setup for the whole entire series. It sounds great. So those are the books that are coming out this week. I thought since we had a little bit of extra time left, and we've talked before in various connections, I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about holiday stuff. And you all said you wanted to talk about your favorite holiday drinks, which is like seriously one of my favorite subjects. So I figured since it is actually nighttime where Emily is, and she is the most legitimately of us able to talk about holiday drinks to start out with, maybe you could give us your first one.
Okay, so I think this is very much a Christmas morning sort of brunch vibe, and it's Bucks Fizz. So I don't know if Bucks Fizz is a thing that happens in America.
What's Bucks Fizz? I've never heard of this in my life.
So Bucks Fizz, I don't see. I'm very British. I'm not
BUCK.
BUCKS. Bucks Fizz.
Okay.
I think this is mimosas. It's champagne and orange juice.
Yeah, that's mimosas.
Okay, so
Okay,
Bucks Fizz it comes like pre-mixed in a bottle, and it's Bucks Fizz, and you buy it like in your normal store, and it's like it's Christmas morning. We're having like a brunchy breakfast. We want to drink, but at the same time we want to be classy. We don't want to get like too over the top too early, and it's so fresh and bubbly, and it's one of your 5 a day because there's fruit in it. So, it ticks every single box. So I think for me, Bucks Fizz, that's a Britishism. Is it mimosas? Is that essentially what it is?
Yeah, that's
okay. So in America, mimosas, maybe in other countries, mimosas. But here in the UK, that's Bucks Fizz. And it is just, it's perfect.
I don't know if you can get mimosas already mixed in a bottle. I haven't seen that before. I admit I
haven't seen that
I haven't
either.
seen it before. You have to do it yourself,
Yeah.
So there's a definite convenience aspect there.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Kate, what about you?
So this is not for the morning, definitely not for the morning, but I make a Christmas drink that is so good and it tastes so complicated, but it's not. All it is coffee ice cream and Jack Daniels mixed up in a blender. It's delicious.
Wow.
You make grown-up milkshakes. That sounds delightful.
That's what it is. We just went to a party and we had to like label everything we were bringing, and I labeled it as an alcoholic milkshake. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous though. That sounds like it's so sweet and delicious that you get through 3 of them and you suddenly go, "Ooh, the sky it's moving."
Yeah.
It's really, really good. Really, really, really good.
Yeah, that is one of those ones where I think you could sit and people could bring them to you and you wouldn't realize till you got up to move how many adult milkshakes you'd have. Oh, that sounds delightful. So we have both ends of the day covered. What about you, Jenna? What's your favorite?
Well, I mean, are we talking alcoholic
It
drinks?
doesn't matter. Just favorite holiday drink.
Oh, okay. Then my favorite has to be wassail. I love that.
So
To me, that's such a Christmassy thing with the apple juice and cranberry juice mixed together with all the spices and the cinnamon sticks floating around in it.
It smells amazing.
It does. It just makes the house smell so wonderful.
everything around it smells
So I just kind of drink that all from the afternoon on, really.
So I'm going to date myself a little bit, but have you heard of Russian tea? When I was a little girl, they used to do it at dinner parties, and it seemed so fancy. And it's Tang.
Okay, for the British among us, what is a Tang?
Oh, it's powdered orangeade.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
I was just like, I have no idea what that is.
It's powdered orangeade, and you mix the powdered orangeade with the powdered tea, and you put cinnamon sticks and cloves and stuff in it. And I remember being, elementary school age and thinking, the grown-ups would let us have it, and you serve it warm. The grown-ups would let us have it. And I remember thinking, this is just the fanciest thing I've ever seen. And then I got older and realized what the ingredients were. And it's like, this is a lot of powder stirred together and hotted up.
But this is the thing, hot drinks that aren't coffee and tea feel so much fancier during that Yuletide. You know, like mulled wine. Like I would never in like September have hot red wine. Like that would never even occur to me. But you make it mulled wine and you make it December, and I'm like, yes, serve me that in a bowl, please. That sounds great.
Yeah, there is something about that because it's like a cup of comfort. You know, you have the cup of this nice warm something or other. So.
See, our thing when I was younger, a very special thing we felt was Shirley Temples.
Yes.
What is it? So I don't drink cocktails in the main, so you're going to have to translate a few of these terms for me. What is Shirley Temple?
It's non-alcoholic. It's just ginger ale, a little bit of cherry juice, and a cherry.
But that sounds lovely.
Yeah. So my kiddo my kiddo walks home from school and he really loves them too. He's 16 and he stops at this little restaurant sometimes and buys himself a Shirley Temple. And he said, Mom, they make the best ones. I had like 4 cherries in it the last time.
Oh, that's so adorable.
You count your happiness by the numbers of cherries in your Shirley Temple. You know.
Well, speaking of non-alcoholic drinks, I'm the eldest of a ream of cousins. So most of my cousins are at least a decade, if not more, younger than me. And growing up at Christmas was always at our grandparents', which was their house was called Longacre because it had an acre that was slightly more than an acre, so it was Longacre. And I would make the Longacre cocktail because, of course, all the adults and myself were having Bucks Fizz, and they were allowed a very small glass of that, but really not very much more because they were all kind of pre-teen. And so I would make the Longacre cocktail, which is essentially lemonade, orange juice, and then like chopped oranges, chopped lemons, chopped limes, and a bunch of ice. And it looks gorgeous. It's so like bright and colorful, and it's so fizzy and it's fresh, and like it looks amazing in a long glass. And for years, I would be making this for my cousins. And when the next cousin younger than down from me, so she's 11 years younger than me, she hit 18 and she was like, right, I've got to know what that recipe is because I want to share that cocktail with all my friends. And I was like, oh, hun, that's not alcoholic. That's just juice. That's juice and fizz and a bunch of fruit. And she was like, what? And I was like, I wanted you to feel included. Like I wanted you all to feel like you were joining in with the adults, but I would never give you alcohol at 12 years old. Like, what do you take me for? And she was like, I don't know. It was just
the cool cousin. That's who you were. You were the cool cousin.
It was just part of the Christmas tradition. And I think most families have a Christmas tradition which feels totally normal to them. And then you spend Christmas with friends or with a different family and you go, oh, you don't do this thing. And everyone looks at you like you're totally wild. And you go, oh, no, that's just us. Don't worry.
I think that happens when you meet your partner, you know, or whoever you happen to be spending the holidays with. I remember with my ex-husband, they don't wrap Christmas presents. I'm like,
sorry, what?
What do you mean? Because Santa wouldn't wrap Christmas presents. So any of the presents that were from Santa didn't get wrapped. And I was like, but then you see everything. Like, how can that be?
What are the elves doing?
How can that be a thing? You just look and everything's right there. There has to be some, you know, like some veil of secrecy surrounding the Christmas thing. So it takes more than 2 minutes. But
so I would love to hear, Jenna and Kate, I would love to hear your family Christmas traditions, which are probably only your family. I will share 2 of mine very quickly. One is that because my dad is Scottish, I get one present from Father McChristmas every year. And that is the present that my dad chose himself. My mum does everything else.
fun.
And my dad would pick one present for us kids that was from him, Father McChristmas. And the second tradition is, and viewers, if you're watching this, I've tried to find someone who also does this. It can't just be my family. When we have Christmas dinner, at the end of it, we have Christmas pudding. We set the pudding alight. Is that an American thing? Do you set your puddings alight?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so some of you do, some of you don't. So we set it alight. And our tradition in my family is that the oldest and the youngest at the gathering bring in the pudding in state, set alight. And then we, as a family, sing to the pudding. It sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud. We sing to the pudding, and we sing the first verse of Good King Wenceslas to the pudding, and then the oldest and the youngest blow it out. We can't be. That must have come from somewhere. Someone else must be doing that. Please, if you're watching this and your
really want
family,
a video of your family singing to the pudding.
if your family
That's
sings to a pudding,
hysterical.
please tell me, because I'm trying to find out where this tradition came from. I've got Scottish family, Irish family, Welsh family, Italian family. It must come from somewhere. So yeah, Kate, what does your family do that maybe no one else does?
We always, for some reason, we always had the same breakfast on Christmas, which was tangerines and mint chocolate chip meringue cookies.
Oh,
That is very unusual. I mean,
that
it
was
sounds
an interesting
delicious.
combination.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's just what we did.
Oh, that sounds so good.
With coffee?
Even when we were kids, that was just always what you had.
Wow.
Because the meringue cookies, you put them in the oven at night and turn the oven off, and then
Yeah,
they're
and
just
before you
ready in the
sleep.
morning.
That
Oh,
makes
that's
sense.
clever.
That makes
Oh, I
sense.
love that. I'm going to need that recipe from you, Kate, because that sounds really good.
The meringue cookies are great. You just mix them up, put them in the oven, shut the oven off, and you're done. That's all.
Yeah, and let them
It's my
dry
kind of
on their own. Awesome. Jenna, what about you? What's your holiday tradition?
Well, we have a couple, and one of ours is like yours. Santa, anything Santa brought. Now my kids are older, so we really don't do Santa. But Santa, anything Santa brought was not wrapped. Anything from parents was wrapped,
See,
and that's something that I grew up with.
it's so good to know that goes other places.
That's wild.
Huh?
Yeah.
And we have in my family for breakfast we always had ham biscuits. My husband's family always had oyster stew, so now we have both.
Oyster stew for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so luxurious.
Love
Oh
stew.
yes. Oh yes. And he has it for all the holidays. It's like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. He's got to have his oyster stew. And then for dinner, we grew up. This was something that we just came up with. My husband and I had given a dinner party once, and we had served Cornish game hens. And it was near Christmas, and the girls got to actually have some of this, and they loved it so much. That was our Christmas dinner, was everybody got their own Cornish game hen.
Fancy.
With rice up the butt. That's what the girls called it, because it was stuffed with rice, and they call it chickens with the rice up the butt.
I mean,
so that's what we have.
They're not wrong.
Christmas.
They're not wrong.
No, and quite fancy. Quite fancy.
Yeah.
Oh,
So for the ham biscuits, is it salty Virginia kind of ham or regular ham?
It's regular ham. It's right. I mean, we at one point we did do the salty ham because my husband's brother would give us one for Christmas every year, so we would use that. But now it's just I go out and get a ham and cook it for that morning, and then we just have the regular ham.
Can I be British for just 1 second? When you say
Sure.
biscuits, you don't mean what I think of as biscuits, do you? Because I'm thinking
No.
cookies, and that doesn't.
No,
Stone like.
it's
Like
I mean,
a dumpling, sort of like.
No, more like a scone, like a.
yeah,
With no sugar in it.
but not with
No
fruit
sugar.
in it.
So they're a roll, but they're heavy like a scone with no sugar in it. So
Sounds like
Yeah.
sounds like a dumpling. I'm going to be honest. As in like a Nordic dumpling, like a floury sort of.
See, if we do dumplings, they're usually in something. They're usually like steamed in like
Yeah.
chicken and dumplings or something on top of the same.
Yeah,
dough.
chicken. I think dumplings. I think chicken and dumplings, where the dough. It's the same. It's the exact same dough,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's put into a boiling liquid.
Oh no, yeah. So that's so if I have dumplings in the UK, it's the Nordic, like you have a stew or a casserole and then you put the dough on and you just put it in and let it. Yeah. Okay.
That's
So-
different for
Right.
us too. But
For
same
us
dough.
international viewers who cannot follow American cuisine for the life of us, I just want to it's like you're having it with a chocolate chip cookie. That does not sound right to me.
No,
Okay.
no,
But if you
I
make
cannot imagine.
if you make
that.
biscuits the way Chastity does, Chastity has a great biscuit recipe. Chastity Bolin. You put the
Ooh.
butter in the pan first, and then you put the biscuit dough in, and then the butter just kind of all just
Ooh,
Oh, hello.
it's just delightful, and it's super super easy to make too. So
Super easy is
I'll have
what
to
I
try
want.
that.
biscuits are lovely. Well, now I'm hungry. And I'm hungry. It's way too early for a cocktail here. So
Yes.
I'm going to have to console myself with reading something instead. Ladies, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate it. I'm going to say the same thing I say every week because it's true every week. Dragonblade books are the best deal on pre-order and release, so grab them now. Make sure to put the
Yes.
links in the comments so you can get them if you haven't gotten them already. Like Emily said, you can start anywhere in the series, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited too, so there's no reason not to read from the very beginning to the very end. Ladies, thanks again for taking the time to be here. I really do appreciate it, and we'll be back the same time next week.
Amazing.
Thanks,
Thanks
Ellen.
everyone.
Thank you.